Hello, hello, hello. My name is Hadiya Harris. I am a psychotherapist here at My Therapy NYC with a background in crisis and trauma therapy. And I just came here to speak with you today. So, have you ever come across someone who may have said along the lines of, "You're too emotional," or "You don't show emotions," or states you're emotionless? Oof, ouch, right? And so you may have fit or felt that you fit into one of these scenarios, or even come across a person who can kind of resemble this, right, for you? With media expressing two sides of the emotion coin, positive or negative, it can be hard to determine where you lie in the thick of it all, right? And so our emotions can be influenced by past and even current experiences. So there can also be times when we have to distinguish between whether the emotion we are feeling is, let's say, our truth to the experience, or it's an emotion felt by another and we feel it too. Regardless of where or how the emotion is gathered, it's important to remember that it can be a powerful force for you. So, here in this video, we will discuss the basics of emotion and how to be friends with it. So, let's all gather around, don't run, but walk to emotion. So, what is emotion, right? According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, emotion is the conscious mental reactions such as anger or even fear, subjectively experienced as strong feelings, right? Usually directed toward a specific object and typically accompanied by physiological and behavioral changes in the body. That's a lot, right? But there's also a different definition. So, according to the American Psychology Association dictionary, it's a noun and it's a complex reaction pattern involving experimental, behavioral, and physiological elements by which an individual attempts to deal with an personal significant matter or event, right? So, all these things are coming up for us in our bodies and in our minds. When was the term coined? The word emotion has named a physiological category and a subject for systematic inquiry only since the 19th century. Before then, relevant mental states were categorized variously as appetites, passions, affections, or sentiments. The word emotion has existed in English since the 17th century, and so originating as a translation of the French word emotion, meaning a physical disturbance, it came into much wider use in the 18th century English. So often it's referred to mental experiences. The word emotion is imported from the French word emotion, but it was used in the 17th and the 18th centuries. It did not become established as a name for a category of mental states that might be systematic studied into the mid 19th century. So yes, it started off in the 18th century, but it didn't really become prominent until the 19th century. So why emotion, right? And so it's the indicator to bring things to our attention. I don't view it necessarily as bad, right? It gets you closer to knowing yourself, becoming more awareness towards yourself, right? You allow yourself to feel, to flow with your indicators of emotion. It means you're alive. It's a human experience that we all share. So there's three elements of emotion. Any human can experience emotion despite culture or their upbringing, right? Whether they are attuned with their emotion is another story. But emotion can be explored in three ways, right? So there's the subjective experience, the physiological response, and the behavioral response. And it's interesting, right? Because we didn't really know that these had three emotions to it, but it does, right? And so the subjective experience is considered a stimulus. It evokes a particular response, right? And so their experience that produces that emotion is subjectively. So an emotion can be brought up from simply seeing the weather forecast change from sunny to rainy, to attending an graduation ceremony or losing a loved one, right? Regardless of the level of intensity of the subjective experience, many emotions can be felt and their emotion can be received differently based upon the person. So, for example, Let's use the graduation ceremony as an example. One person can feel very happy about attending the ceremony, while another one can feel fear of the matter or just uncertainty about their next moves. So that can bring up some emotions and some feelings, right? So the second category of emotion is a physiological response. And so this response is considered a reaction to your emotion. What you feel in your body, the nervous system response. The nervous system controls our involuntary bodily responses and regulates either a fight or flight response. So, for instance, your facial expression can sometimes share the emotion you're feeling with, say, with like anger. You could be like scrunched up, you can be really annoyed, right? You can show on our face. Or, for example, your heart begins to beat fast when you're feeling fearful. Your body is responding to emotion, right? Yeah. So, the third component is the behavioral response. The behavioral response aspect of the emotion response is the actual expression of the emotion. And so behavioral responses can include a smile, a laugh, a sigh, along with many other reactions depending on the societal norms and personality that you have. As some may not know, social cultural norms and individual upbringings play a role in our behavioral responses, right? So the emotion that feels the most comfortable for you to share may not necessarily be the case for another individual. So for instance, love is expressed differently across all different factors, right? Behavioral responses help us interact with other people to get across how we feel, right? It's beneficial to them, but also beneficial to you to allow yourself to feel that, right? To feel that emotion, to be in that, whether positive or negative. Suppression of behavioral responses to your emotion can have some physical effects, actually, such as rapid heartbeat, stress, hormonal changes, right? Your body will respond to it just in any way that it can. And so the physiological and behavioral responses associated with emotions illustrate that emotion is much more than a mental state. Emotion affects our whole demeanor and our health. And so there's really some importance to that, right? Because you have importance, right? So, let's talk a little bit more about the emotion and kind of where that could come from, right? And the word bank of that. So, with accelerated experimental dynamic psychotherapy, AEDP, the core emotions include sadness, fear, anger, joy, excitement, and disgust. Emotions can become destructive if the emotions we've learned are not the correct response towards an experience. Or subconscious emotions cause reactions that we are unable to understand. We just don't get, right? And so being in touch with your emotions and tuning into your understanding, pushing that into action is called emotional awareness. So being able to do this with others as well is referred to as emotional intelligence. And so there was a psychologist by the name of Robert Polchak, and they proposed that there are 8 primary emotions that serve as the foundation for all others. So joy, sadness, acceptance, disgust, fear, anger, surprise, and anticipation. So actually, I have a copy of the emotion wheel right here. And there's so many different versions of this emotions wheel, but this version that I have here is the feeling wheel, okay? And so let's get closer. This is what it looks like. It comes in different colors, and it also has the core emotions right in the center here, okay? And so for instance, under mad comes from the core and it releases out to the extension, right? And so when it releases out to the extension, this emotion will kind of provide you with more deeper kind of words to choose from. Think of it as a word bank, right? And so when you're mad, why are you mad? Can we go deeper into that? And that's a lot of work that we will do together in our sessions or just in general here at My Therapy NYC, finding to understand what the core emotion is for yourselves. What are we experiencing here, right? And so when you're mad, you may be mad because you feel this rage, and that rage may make you feel very furious, right? That's just one example. Let's kind of change it into a kind of a more positive emotion. Let's see. Peaceful, okay? So the core emotion here on this feeling wheel is peaceful. And so with peacefulness, you can go towards a deeper emotion of feeling content or a deeper emotion of feeling intimate. And with that intimacy, you feel responsive, right? You feel closer, you feel that connection, right? And so with the core emotions that you feel, there's always going to kind of be an underlying factor to it. You could definitely Google this as well. There's more information I can get from the feeling wheel and the emotion wheel. I advise you to kind of take a look at it and kind of play around with it, kind of see what are some other words that we can use to kind of express how we feel here. So when it comes to expressing our feelings, there are layers to your core emotion. What does it tell you? What does it feel for you? Is there more to the story that comes from it? And so the use of all this information is to help you become more aware of self and closer to understanding you and possibly the others near you, right? And so if you feel emotions hard to manage, hard to understand what that why is coming from, I definitely encourage you to reach out to My Therapy NYC and we can explore that with you, right? And so I'm curious to know your thoughts from viewing this video. Let me know in the comments below of how you seen this, how you taken this information in. And for more information, definitely check out our website at My Therapy NYC. Speak to you soon.